So Nintendo released their fiscal year earnings, ranging from April 2019 to March 2020, and it's at the surprise of no one that they've actually had a killer year for the Nintendo Switch and the company in general. So there's a few things to cover here. That includes the Nintendo Switch and how many of the consoles were sold, including the Nintendo Switch Lite, which also has released within this period of time, the overall software sales in general for the period in question, and also the bumper sales that Animal Crossing has provided to the company as well. But first, a little call to action. Don't forget to support the channel by leaving a like on the video if you did enjoy. It does support the channel more than you realise, and I really appreciate everyone that does so. And if you find yourself watching much of this video and you're interested in more Nintendo news and other gaming news, why don't you consider subscribing as well to help push the channel further and create more content like this that you can enjoy in the future. So there's been a total of 21.03 million units of the Nintendo Switch family of systems sold in the previous year, which takes the total lifetime sales of the Nintendo Switch family up to 55.77 million. This means the Switch sales were up an impressive 24% on the year before, which you could say is a result of potentially the Nintendo Switch Lite being launched during this period, which did account for 6.19 million of the sales of the console. The fact Nintendo has sold 55 million Nintendo Switch consoles is even more impressive when you consider it's only been out for 3 years. So where does the Nintendo Switch rank in the all-time list of Nintendo consoles lifetime sales to date then? So currently at 55 million is sitting third place behind the Wii, which is on 101.6 million, and the NES, which is on 61.91 million. This also means the Nintendo Switch has now sold more than the SNES, or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which sold 49.1 million, the Nintendo 64, which sold 32.9 million, the GameCube, which sold 21.7 million, and of course the Wii U at the bottom, which sold 13.6 million units. Now it is crazy to think back to the Wii U era to say that Nintendo was going to get another console to do so well. I mean, 55 million Switches compared to 13 million Wii U's, that's a significant difference considering the Switch has again only been out for 3 years, and I'm very happy to see Nintendo turning their fortunes around and back on the up in terms of the console market. Obviously the Nintendo Switch is very likely to overtake the NES sales this year and become the second best Nintendo selling console behind the Wii. Whether or not it will reach the Wii's numbers remains to be seen, but I'm quite positive it's got a good chance of doing so. But again, another interesting few years to come. Depends what they do in terms of Switch Pro, whether there's a, in the same system or in the same family of systems, or whether they go a different route and there's a new console afterwards. But I think if it is a Switch Pro route, they will probably reach the Wii sales, and that's quite impressive again. Now let's move on to software. So within the last year, the software sales for the Nintendo Switch were 168.72 million units, which is a 42.3% increase on the year before, which is a very good increase for Nintendo. And I think this probably is largely to do with the fact that Pokemon Sword and Shield and Animal Crossing have come out in this period as maybe two of the biggest game launches. Obviously there's a couple of other things. You've got Luigi's Mansion, you've got The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, so some big first party games did come out in that period, and this seems to have helped Nintendo with an impressive result in terms of selling software. When you look at the bigger picture then, the Wii actually sold 921 units of software within its lifespan. The Switch is currently on 356, so even though the Switch has sold half as many units, it's only a third of the software sales. Whether that's a case of like more indie sort of games being available these days and they're less reliant on just sort of the traditional buying a disc sort of software, and things have changed a little bit now. You pick up a couple of little things. You've also got like the Nintendo Switch Online, where you have the virtual console. I'm not sure whether those numbers counted in that figure, but there's a lot more going on these days in the gaming world. And then you also have the competitors like the PlayStation, the Xbox, where the Switch is more of a companion to those rather than a competitor. So people might be picking up like one game for the Switch to play on the go while they're playing their main things on their home console on PC. So that might be worth considering in regards to why the software sales seems lower than maybe older consoles, but that's not to say it's still not an impressive number. It would be worth maybe comparing the software attachment rates with the PS4 and Xbox One, but I don't have that data here to do so, unfortunately. Looking at the NES as well, obviously it's only 6 million units ahead of the Nintendo Switch, but it's 150 million units of software ahead. So I think by the time the Switch results are in for next year, the Switch is going to be ahead of the NES. Probably maybe will be on about par with the software sales, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more, but obviously it will be ahead in units, so it won't be the same sort of attach rate in terms of software sales. Be there or thereabouts, but I think the NES had a little bit higher, which, again, there could be other reasons for it, including the price of the games back then compared to now, but I'm not sure the exact reasons, but it doesn't mean it's not impressive either way, the amount of units of software Nintendo is selling for the Switch. So I did mention Animal Crossing and Pokemon Sword and Shield in regards to the software sales, and Pokemon Sword and Shield, first of all, had a very, very strong outing. And even though it came in for a lot of criticism from fans for various different reasons, I personally enjoyed the game and I'm not that bothered about a lot of them. But yeah, even though it came in for that criticism, it still sold 17.37 million units, and it has actually recorded more sales than all of the 3DS Pokemon games totals. And it's done this in just 4.5 months since the game came out. So like I said, Pokemon Shield has got 17.37 million sales, and then that compares to X and Y, which sold 16.45 million, Sun and Moon, which sold 16.18 million, and the Ultra versions of those games, which sold 8.77 million, and then you also had the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, which sold 14.27 million. So that is a tremendous achievement for Nintendo in regards to Sword and Shield, and like I said, even though there was a lot of criticism around the games, they've still smashed it basically, so that's good news for the future of the Pokemon franchise. Looking forward for the Pokemon games then, so you've got Diamond and Pearl from the original DS actually sold 17.67 million units, which means they're probably going to overtake that result soon, or they might have already, considering the fact that these results are only of March 30th, and with everyone being stuck indoors at the moment, maybe that's something a lot of people have picked up in the last week. But either way, it's going to be taking that over soon, and then the leader out with 23 million units is Gold and Silver, so will or will not Sword and Shield take that over? I would go as far to say they probably will at this point, maybe by next year, but who knows, we'll see in the future, but that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Moving on to Animal Crossing and the big hitter, everyone wants to know how this is done, and it's actually done absolutely amazing. So up until the 31st of March 2020, where all of this data is up until, Nintendo have confirmed that Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold 11.77 million copies. Bearing in mind its launch date was the 20th of March, which meant it was just 12 days sales that accounted for this figure. So this means that this has been the best ever start for a Nintendo Switch title, which is very, very surprising to be honest, because I don't think anyone would have expected Animal Crossing to have the best launch of any game on the Switch so far. But that is the facts, and you might say it's probably because the fact that everyone's stuck indoors at the moment, and that's really helped with this situation, but the facts are the facts, and Animal Crossing is the best selling launch game on Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo's official figures for the game are 11.77 million as of the 31st of March. They also released a chart as part of its financial results explanatory material guide, which sort of gives a little bit more detail in further sales since that period, and they've listed at 13.41 million. It doesn't say what sort of date this is up until, but it's a little bit more up-to-date figure given from them after the 31st of March, and then they've also compared that then with previous entries in the series. My apologies, it does actually say it's the first 6 weeks of the game's launch for this new figure. So the bottom line here anyway is to compare it with some of the old franchises, and basically Animal Crossing New Horizons has already outsold the lifetime sales of both Animal Crossing New Leaf on the Nintendo 3DS, which sold about over 11 million I would say, or maybe 12, and then also the DS Wild World entry as well, which sold just a bit less than New Leaf. But again, New Horizons within its first 6 weeks has outsold both the lifetime sales of those previous entries, which is just absolutely amazing really. So that's basically all the highlights of the Nintendo financial news from their briefing. I will be doing another video today on the top 10 best selling games on the Nintendo Switch since it came out after this one, so keep an eye out for that one. And before you do that, let me know what you think in the comments about this news. Do you think this is a positive, or maybe they could have done better? Obviously there is an argument to say that they could have sold more Switches if they were on a shortage at the moment. However, you can see why there might be a shortage because of the amount they have actually managed to sell. But regardless, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you still here at this point and enjoyed the content. It really supports the channel. And if you want to keep up to date with all the latest gaming news, specifically for Nintendo, then subscribe to the channel and I shall keep you up to date. There are 2 videos on the screen at the moment. One of them will be the most recent upload before this one. The other one is recommended by YouTube for you, so check those out, and thanks for watching. I shall see you in the next video.